Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. I almost said the Mazda MX-5 Cup Championship. Round number 6 here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. I am your host and commentator for today's race, SM_RDZ. And once again, we are back with the pro division of drivers here for the championship. And once again, we're only at 5 numbers, and I'm expecting to see a bit more numbers in the championship, and so I imagine we're gonna get a bit more. I understand that I keep saying the Hondas, the Mazdas of. Did I just say the Mazdas again? For God's sakes, the Hondas of Doug Barrow and Harry's, as far as I'm aware, are not in for today. So I'm not seeing a couple of guys join the lobby, including Master Swift, who is the championship leader coming into this race, and only by 3 points. So that will be something to have to take a look at as well, regardless of the situation. We have our man SLM Ure, who is looking very, very much in fine form for this championship, and he did lose the championship lead as a result. Yeah, I'm just watching up all the Formula One banter at the moment as I speak, so I'm not spoiling anything for those guys. I am checking in with the race lobby host at the moment, and I have said about 10 to 15 more minutes for you guys to join the lobby. And what I'll do is I'll take about 5 minutes, of course, to step away from the commentator's box, which is the the room of my house, and I will give my voice another break because of all the voice stuff from the Pro-Am race, and so that will give me a bit of time to relax. And at the moment, I will flick between television screens, and you guys will be able to enjoy some live trackside action. Doug Barrow was trying to find his way onto the lobby, so just said. And so the break coming to a close, and we will hop straight into qualifying for this 7-car battle for the Pro Division. And it's going to be very, very saucy indeed for qualifying as well. We saw the performance disadvantage for the Aston Martin for the front engine drive cars. So how will the mid-engine cars perform for this race? And so we will look our way down the field. Of course, we do have the BMW of TGIS 78 leading the pack for qualifying in the 78 BMW. And then once again, we have one of the custom Hondas. I always keep confusing this team with the Mazdas. They're so good in the Mazda championship. They're genuinely struggling in this championship, but hopefully they can find some ground. Doug Barrow, of course, once again in the Costa Honda. And of course, with the mid-engine performance, oh Jesus, my English, I'm sorry for that. With the performance of these mid-engine cars, they will be looking. I assume this could be a good chance for Doug Barrow to try to make up some lost ground in this championship, so he will be a target or a car to keep an eye out for in this race. And then we have the Mustang of James Head, who will be trying to get some points as well back into this championship fight. And he, at the moment on my screen, is all the way down in 8th in points, so he's not had a really good season as of late, but hopefully he can try and find his way back up the grid the best he can. And then we have the championship leader of Swift in a very nice purple AMG livery, a Twitch-sponsored Mercedes AMG GT3, and it's also got the AMG striping as well, which I do absolutely love on the Mercedes AMGs as well. I actually have a Haribo-themed Mercedes AMG GT3 from when the Haribo team ran the Nürburgring Nordschleife program with the VLN and the 24-hour Enduro. Unfortunately, that team has ceased operations, but of course their tribute lives on. And we also have this car of SLM Palmer, who is really not fielding a very nice one-off Duchessa Post livery, and I think he said it was for cancer research, I'm pretty sure, but regardless, it's a very nice livery to take a look at as well, with the bear on the side and the Duchessa posting as well on the side. And then we have Ben L85 in the Toyota Supra, coming off of a 2-podium streak here, 2nd at Dragon Trail, but 3rd at Monza, so he will be definitely looking to add to his plate of trophies as well. And then we have SMM Ure, who actually, as a matter of fact, took his lowest point scoring finish of the season at Monza, and he's only 3 points behind Swift for the championship lead of the season. So he will be looking to try and make up some lost ground. And like I said, the course will definitely benefit these mid-engine cars as well. Right now, up to the front of the field now, where laps are starting to be set. 1:45.9 for TGS. That's a really good lap. And fast laps coming in. James Head with a 45.6. Swift now with a 44.7. So that's the first time we've seen a car packed with the 44s all weekend long. So that is a good lap for him. Ben L85 with a 45.2. So a very good effort for the Toyota Supra, which is making its 3rd start of the season. Where will Ure pop himself back on out? And Ure will only muster a 45 dead and is only 4/10 down off the Mercedes of Swift. So Swift doing a good job in the Mercedes AMG GT3, which is a very, very good car to drive in the series, of course. And I do love the purple that Swift is fielding for this race, of course. And James Head will pull over, and he will make way for the BMW to get on by, not hold anyone on up. Of course, Palmer will go up into P4, as a matter of fact. The BMWs particularly well here, as a matter of fact. Doug Barrow with a 47.3, so he will have another crack at another fast lap. The man on pole, Swift. And already we have 5 minutes to go left in the qualifying session. So qualifying just like that has already gone its way on half through. There's a car that has gone wide, and that is the BMW of Palmer. So that's not a good lap for him as of yet. And so once again, these guys coming through to the pit straight. Another lap for TGS. That's definitely no improvement by 0.8 of a second, so not a good run for him. Doug Barrow with a 46.9. Swift improves to a 44.6 by 0.1 of a second. And we do have some guys that are coming into the pits, Palmer and James Head included. Ben L85 has had a rough lap somewhere. He's lost a significant amount of time. Where will Ure pop out in this race? And he will only do a 44.7, so he's closed the gap significantly and is only 1.5 behind Swift. So the Sidemax Motorworks team are looking very strong here as well, in addition to the Mercedes of Swift. And so Palmer and James Head on new rubber are looking to make their way up the field. 4th and 5th for these guys. But the latter still trying to find his footing with this Mustang, even in its 3rd race. Now, of course, the Lexus, which was a pretty good staple in the series, unfortunately is no more. And, of course, Ben L85 switching over to the Supra, the more nimble of the two options, and the James Head, the number 7 Mustang, well, the Lexus previously, is now at the hands with a Mustang GT3. Of course, they're called Group 3s, but I like just saying GT3 for nomenclature and just, you know, for realism purposes. TGIS will come into the pits now. The man in 6th place, he will come in for a new set of rubber. Doug Barrow with a 46.2. Is that an improvement? Yes, it is, but still way down the order. And no improvements for the most part for most of these guys. Ben L85 looking at an improvement here, maybe just 94,000 slower. So very, very close indeed. What can Ure do for the lead of this race? He improves by 37,000 of a second, but still is a tenth of a second behind. So what can Ure do to muster out a tenth more out of that Audi RA LMS? And Swift is looking very strong indeed here in the later stages of qualifying. The tires are starting to go out, but I can imagine he is starting to look out after him. And Ure has less fuel in the tank, so what can he do with that car to try and get it back up to potentially on pole position? So Swift now up in front, only down by 53 thousandths of a second off his fastest lap. And a lot of these guys are just really on the absolute jagged edge of the driving performances of their cars. And so Swift will get this lap that he's finishing up and one more. So hopefully he can try and muster out something. He goes a bit wide, but he's trying to anticipate himself for a good run here out of the final corner. 44.6, that's a very, very good race. As very, very good performance for him, of course. Ure coming through the final corner right now. He's got the Mustang up front to contend with for traffic. And I think it's going to be really flashing the lights to telling him to get out of the way. Palmer, who's up in the 3rd with a 45.0. Ure on pole position by 71 thousandths of a second with a 44.5. So this is out-qualifying the Pro-Ams by at least 2 seconds. And this is really, really, like I said, on the jagged edge And so Yuri doing a good job of displacing the championship leader to take the fight back up to the championship leader himself, Swift. And what can he do in the dying stages of qualifying? And so Swift is down by 2 cents of a day. Oh, and he's picked up a penalty, so that's going to hamper his qualifying significantly. And I think that's just giving Yuri a guaranteed pole position nonetheless. Unless Palmer has something to say about that, but he's half a second behind. I don't think he can muster out much more than what he's already done with the BMW. Swift has cleared that penalty, but I think that's pretty much hampered his qualifying significantly. And unfortunately for him, yeah, that's day done for him. He comes across the start-finish line, and Doug Barrow will go to the pits. And unfortunately for him, that will be day over nonetheless. Doug Barrow coming through the pits, he will finish up qualifying. And Yuri, Benelli 5 will hop into 4th, displacing James Head. I don't think that's an improvement on position. Yes, it is actually. James Head with a no improvement, so he will start in 5th. What does Yuri have in store? TGIS 78 moves up into 4th. So that's a great run for him. Palmer now always had a terrible lap, so... And there are your qualifying results right there. Yuri on pole position with a 144.5. And we will start the race, but I'm assuming Ryra will try and get in this race. And we'll mess the race and see if they want to try and start on over again. So I hate having to do this, but... And so the green flag is away, and I'm not sure what TGS wants to do. I think he is going to continue racing on. Yuri leading the field away nicely with this 7-car battle. Oh, and that's a very sideways Doug Barrow who's had a good start. Benelli 5 who's not had a good start, and that's one of the main downfalls of this Toyota Supra, that it doesn't have a good start off the line. So he's got to make his way back on up into this race. And so Yuri and Swift once again headbutting it out as per usual. The Spaniard and the Brit once again going at it. And don't count out Palmer as well, as he's really truly on the back edge of these guys. TGIS as well. And so Swift and Yuri not giving each other a bit of room as per usual in this race, or for this series, or for the championship, I should say. But these guys only separated by 3 points. Points now 97 for, or I should say 77 for Swift, and Yuri for 74. So this will be a good move. Oh, and TGIS with a great dive down the inside of the chicane, and he will get back up into 3rd place. So that's a great dive by the Dutchman, as he makes the move up into 3rd place. So a good start from him. Oh, and a kick of oversteer by Palmer, who corrects that one really nicely. Benelli 5 getting into 6th, James Head into 7th place. So James Head going backwards more than forward, and it's going to be a tough day for him, unfortunately, as well. Swift and Yuri. Yuri moves over to the right-hand side of the track. Swift will follow. And all these, at least 4 cars are going to follow that slipstream train as an effort to try and get a bit closer. And so Swift, ooh, just on the ragged edge of trying to keep that car at least straight. My goodness me. Just does a very good job of maintaining that good car control. Yuri, who is so experienced with this Audi chassis. Actually, as a matter of fact, Swift is the more experienced man with the Mercedes 53495 miles for that car, and then 5,055 for Yuri. So these guys really on the jagged edge of trying to get the experience with these chassis. And, oh, just, they're so close right there. Swift's putting up a very, very good fight with the front engine Mercedes. Now, the front engine Mercedes, or the front end cars in general, generally struggle here, but Swift is doing an exceptionally good job with the Mercedes here, trying to stay afloat for the championship lead, to maintaining that championship lead, of course. Now, keep in mind, Ure cannot do much to try and lose that championship lead as much as he can. Swift now, oh, can Swift try and force one to the inside? Nothing doing there as of yet, but this is a very, very close and scrappy battle between the top two leaders of this race, and they're easily getting away from the pack behind. And he's just so close. Swift is right on the back bumper, on the back behind of that Audi R8. Oh, and just hopping the sausage curves right there. Just, it can either make you or it can break you, obviously, into this race. And so Swift just still maintaining that close pressure. Will go on board with the man Swift in second place as he trails the Audi just behind as he starts the fastest lap of the race. And look at the straight line speed difference between the Audi and the Mercedes. Ure not making a move as of yet. Swift's going to try and force onto the inside. Oh, and he just backs out of that one to try and force a mistake out of Ure. But the Spaniard doing a good job at holding his ground and his grudge to try and capitalize on this race and take back the championship lead after a dreadful race at Monza, of course. Palmer gets back up past TGIS for third place. TGIS, the Dutchman, will suit back in for P4, but the lead battle at the moment is still very, very close amongst the top two drivers as I speak. And so we've got 5 cars racing against another. They're a bit closer maybe to be able to get something going here, but this lead battle here for the race lead is still super, super close and too much for us to keep our eyes off of for the time being. Oh, and Swift really on the edge of the braking performance of that Mercedes, almost running into the back of the Audi. And like I said, Swift is just on the jagged edge of how much that he could muster out of that Mercedes, and is doing an exceptionally good job at keeping a close performance as much as he can. And so, and just look at how close the battle for third place downward is between the top two guys. Oh, in the background, you can see Ure and Swift now going at it once again. Ure moves over to the right. Now he moves back over to the left for turn number 1. And Swift still keeping a close crush behind Ure with a 44.7, so he cracks into the 44s, and as well as Swift. These guys are so close right there, but Ure getting a little bit wide out of into turn number 3, and Swift now, can he try and make a move, stick into the braking zone? He's going to still stay behind, of course. But the racing between these two guys is just insanely close, and it's just too much for us to keep our eyes off of. And there's already a gap between main. Oh, there's a bit of contact between the Audi and the Mercedes. Swift tried forcing something, but just slightly, but nothing was able to get Ure out of his way. Or to get Swift out of Ure's way, I should say, or something like that. I kind of tongue twisted myself right there for a split second. Oh, and a massive kick of oversteer by Swift as he gets onto the gravel trap. Ure now still trying to make. And so these guys are providing such an insanely close amount of racing. And look at the gap that they picked up. Oh, that's a penalty for Swift, 0.3 of a second, so he will have to serve that. I was wondering why Swift wasn't making a move when he could have, and that's because he's picked up a penalty for, I assume, cutting track limits. Oh, is that a car round? That is the Toyota Supra of Benel 85. And did he put a foot wrong somewhere? And the Toyota Supra, unfortunately for him, he's got a lot of ground to make back up now, unfortunately. And that has cost him a lot of time trying to make a move up. And I'm not sure what happened, but it looked like there was definitely a bit of contact. And so Ure now Still not letting the Mazda on by, but that's expected because I think he's having to make Swift force one either on the inside or on the outside when he at least expected. Swift still with that 2/10 penalty, which he's trying to serve. Oh, and just the amount of corrections that Swift has to make. Oh, wow! Oh my goodness me, what a kick of oversteer that was by Swift. I'm looking back at it at the stream right now. He got it on the grass and oh, just he was somehow, I don't know how, but he was able to keep that car, still keep it from spinning. And you can tell Swift is really desperate and trying to keep the championship lead as much as he can from Ure. But it's just a two-horse scrap. It's just a two-warhorse scrap for the lead at the moment. And these guys, like I said, they're not even giving each other an inch of room, of course. Just insane racing. Oh, is that Ure around? Yes, it is! And Ure has got it all wrong out of the race lead! So he's got to get that car turned around urgently, and he's allowing 5 cars even. Yes, 5 cars! And the race leader in pole position, man, Ure, has put a foot wrong, and it has allowed Swift to get away easily. Now, I'm not sure if that was contact induced. I am looking at it right now from the live stream. And let's see what happened. Oh, and he just got it too much on the sausage curves. And that's, like I said, the sausage curves, you run over them too much, they can either make you or they could break you. And that just happened to Ure. And so the Side Max Motorworks driver has got a lot of work to do if he wants to try and be able to get back up into prime position. So, and this has allowed Swift to get a comfortable lead now of 4 seconds over SLM Polymer, and TGIS has moved up into third as TGIS gets a kick of oversteer. And the field now starting to spread out a fair bit within the first 10 minutes of this race. And there is the Mustang of James Head, who's got the Audi of Ure behind. Now, I imagine James Head is going to try and keep his track position the best he can, but I don't think it might be of much fruition, considering Ure's insane pace out here, as well as Swift. And it makes for a very, very dicey duel for all of these guys, and it's amazing stuff for what we get. So the two BMWs of Polymer and TGIS doing a very, very good job, of course, at holding off for second and third at least. But Ure is trying to do the best he can, but unfortunately he's picked up a 4/10 penalty of some sort for, I assume, for track limits violations, and unfortunately for him, that will be a minor drawback, of course. But the penalties can be easily served in the braking zone for turn number 1. You don't lose too much time, but you can serve into the braking zone for turn number 1, and I believe 7, 8, 9, turns 10 as well, which is the hairpin. And so Ure can easily pull a comeback if he can, and if he is able to. And Ure, like I said, he just took too much of the sausage curve, and it's easily thrown that Audi around whilst trying to defend from a very hard charging Swift. He was able to apply the pressure, and of course that forced a mistake from the Spaniard, which he is known to do. And it's very hard to see a mistake out of Swift because he's so good with this Mercedes platform. So now this is the part of the race where Swift now can just relax a little bit. Oh, and James Head with a kick of oversteer in the background as well. And so we'll go on board now with the BMW of TGIS 78. These BMWs, just very, very big cars. Drive around here, but if they're tuned right, well, keep in mind that this is a non-tuning series, but if these cars are tuned right, they could be very, very good cars to drive nonetheless, and they're very, very feasible as well. And so Palmer still holding on for second place. And TGIS, as far as I'm aware, in the pro standings has not scored a single podium this season, so this would be good for him as well if he is able to keep it going for a podium position finish. So now the comeback progress for Ure. Oh, James Head went a bit wide, and he's definitely lost a significant amount of speed. I assume he went in the gravel trap very, very wide, and it's allowed Ure to easily pass on by. Ure's still serving the penalty, so now he's only down to a tenth of a second. Like I said, it's very easy to serve your penalty here if you cut the track. And so, like I said, here's one of the interesting things about these mid-engine cars. Oh, Doug Barrow goes a bit wide onto the gravel trap, but he's picked up a 5/10 penalty, which he is starting to serve a little bit. Oh, Doug Barrow goes very, very sideways indeed. And Ure is already on the back bumper of the Honda NSX, and that's allowing Ure to easily pass the Honda NSX GT3. And so that's another position for Ure on his comeback move, but he's only about 10 to 11 seconds behind the man in front, which is Swift. Oh, Doug Barrow. Oh, Ure kind of forced the door shut on that one. Quick flash of the lights from Doug Barrow saying he didn't like that one. And that's kind of a place where people will shut the door if they have to. And Doug Barrow certainly didn't like that right there. And that's the thing, and keep in mind here, you got the top three guys who are all front engine rear-wheel drive cars. As you saw in the last race, the Porsche of Mouchelat pretty much dominated this race from start to finish. And so the performance figures is being particularly well suited towards these mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars. And so, like I said, Ure will be on a hot charge right here because theoretically this course should be suited for this car and less for the Mercedes of Swift. Palmer has picked up 1 second between himself and his teammate TGIS 78. And Palmer, which on the timing, which on the scoring sheet here says he did not start, but he did start at Monza, so I'm particularly unsure why that is the case. Swift was able to overcome. Oh, what's happened here for Swift? Has Swift run his tires down massively? Oh no, because we are already down close to 20 minutes of this race. So people coming in for pit stops this early with 44 minutes to go. Is Swift trying to three-stop strategy here? That is very interesting to take a look at. That is something that was not completely catching my guard off. And are these guys wearing their tires down a lot more than anticipated? That is a very big question mark over Swift right now. So that will be a development that we will have to take a look at. Well, is a three-stop going to have to be the way to go for Swift? Of course, that will have to be a big question mark to answer in this race. And so, yeah, look at the tire wear that Ure already has. Look at the tire wear after these guys. Just after only 17 minutes of racing, they're not even at the full 20-minute mark. So these guys, well, Swift's definitely committed to a three-stop strategy, that's for sure. And if Swift is having to push the tires like an absolute stabbed rat, he's definitely maybe got to try and three-stop it. Yeah, look at the amount of fuel that he's put in. He's definitely going through for a three-stop strategy here, which is a very audacious strategy given the fact that, you know, for the Pro-Am race, tire wear wasn't even that high. It was very, very light. It was light, but it wasn't enough to thwart a 3-stop strategy here. And so this will have to be something that we'll have to take a look at into consideration as well. And now Yuri's doing a good job with that first pit stop. Yuri will have to come into the pits at some point. Ooh, and Yuri getting on the grass, which is something he doesn't want to do, obviously, with the worn front tires. Swift still serving that penalty. Now he's only down to a 1/10 of a second. And TGIS 78 and Palmer will all have to come in for their pit stops sooner rather than later. I think they're going to try and make a 2-stop strategy. If Yuri can try and make up time lost with Swift's additional 3rd stop, that would be very, very good for himself to try and bring back a potential race win here, of course. Oh, nearly contact made between the Audi and the Mercedes. And this is going to be the chance for Yuri to hold up the Mercedes of Swift. Oh, and he forces one a bit out of Yuri, but he quickly gets back behind. And while all this is happening, he's got to worry about what's going on as well. That's a corner cut penalty for Yuri, and once again, and can Swift try and take advantage of this as the traffic by the BMW? He's able to hold off 2 cars, but he can only hold off 1 into the corner. Oh, and TGIS goes wide and deep into the braking corner, and Swift makes the move into 2nd place. So Swift, with a great mindset right there, is able to pass Yuri and TGIS before even their first pit stops are even commenced. And so Palmer now will come in this time by, and it looked like he cut the pit lane line as well. Yuri will come in as well. TGIS is going to stay out. Doug Barrow as well. Ben L85 will stay out as well. James Head made his first pit stop, and he will stay out. TGIS, Doug Barrow having a battle of their own for 3rd place, or I should say 2nd place at the moment while there's pit stops going on. And Doug Barrow with a great dive on the inside. TGIS left the door open, and the Honda NSX of Doug Barrow is able to sneak on by into 2nd place. That's a great move right there for the Brit and the Costa-sponsored Honda NSX. And Swift has gotten himself back into the lead of this race. What a good run. What a good day for him so far in the Mercedes-AMG GT3. But keep in mind, with his first pit stop on lap 9, he's certainly going to be committed to a 3-stop strategy here, while all the other guys are going to do a 2-stop strategy. I'm doing the best here to keep myself hydrated from all of the action as well, because I threw my voice out, I'd say about halfway through the Pro-Am race, because it was so up and down with the battles in the running order, of course. And TGIS on the inside, gonna force one back after Doug Barrow threw one on the inside of turn number 1, and that's a dive made into turn 10 by TGIS, and he quickly gets back up into 2nd place, so that's a good run for him, of course. And I'll continue on with what I was about to say before TGIS made the dive. I threw my voice out in the halfway through the Pro-Am race, so I was really desperate. Oh, and there's contact! And there's more contact between the BMW and the Honda, so that's good sportsmanship between the Honda NSX and the BMW will come into the pits. The Toyota Supra of Ben L85 will come into the pits as well. Doug Barrow will continue on. Yuri with a 2-10 penalty, he will get by. And that's very good sportsmanship from Doug Barrow for the contact. He's let the position on by, so that's very, very good action and sportsmanship from Doug Barrow, knowing that he definitely hit the BMW. Now, I'm not sure if TGIS will take that to investigation, of course, after the race. But this race, with just only about 22 minutes elapsed, has provided some insanely close action here. Nonetheless, Yuri has made his first pit stop, and Doug Barrow will need to come in for the pits particularly soon. He does have a bit of fuel, so if he could stretch it out a fair bit more, if he wants to try and make a one-stop work, which would be a very, very, very curious strategy nonetheless. But we do already know that Swift is on the Joker strategy, which I like to call for if it's being out of the norm, which will be on a three-stop strategy. So we do expect Swift to come back into the pits particularly soon. He does... Sorry about my burp right there. Jesus me, I'm sorry about that. Swift has set a 44.557, and he continues to set fast laps of the race with a 44.3. So could this be pressure for particularly the guys behind, especially for Ure, who is desperate to try and get by the Honda, and the Honda will pit this time by, but Ure is 19.2 seconds off of Swift. And Doug Barrow will come into the pits this time by. And I saw on the screen as well the little air jacket in the front of the Honda. That's a very neat little touch I do like about these games, obviously. So I love the small details that really make the difference in this game, of course. Doug Barrow will come out of the pits all the way down in 7th place, so he will have some work to do as with this incident after TGIS 78. Oh, and that's a pit lane cut violation for Doug Barrow, so I imagine he will get a penalty for that as well. Daniel 85 still trying to make up lost ground in 5th place in the Toyota Supra GT3 after his incident. A lot of these guys, there's surprisingly been a lot of contact and incidents between a lot of these guys in the first half of this race, so it's been a very action-packed and dramatic first half of this race nonetheless. Palmer's pretty much just had a quiet race regardless in 3rd place. And Ure's still trying to make up lost ground in the Audi. And Swift doing a good job at maintaining track position. Yeah, he's definitely going to come in for a 3-stop. Look at the fuel that he's put in the amount of cars, so he's definitely going to go for a 3-stop strategy nonetheless. And so that will have to be something to take into consideration for when race results will be, when the race will unfold later on as it progresses onward. I didn't think I was flicking it downwards. I'm sorry about that. I got a little bit distracted with myself, and I was looking at my controller for a little bit, and I was looking down the screen of many other racers one too many times. But Swift's doing a good job still at maintaining the race lead. Ure's still in hot pursuit. Well, this is good for Ure at least, because if he's able to finish, if Swift's able to finish first and Ure's able to finish second, that means more points for Swift, because actually I state that because that would be 26 points for Swift, and that'd be 18 points for Ure. So that'd be an 11-point difference between first and second place after this race. So Ure's got to actually do some work here if he wants to try and make up some lost ground after his spin at the final chicane. And this race is providing some insanely close racing in terms of strategy, not in terms of actual racing, but there is strategy to be had. James Head has actually gotten to 4th, and he's just put on the ground trap, which is something he doesn't want to do, of course. But in terms of strategy, it's very, very close. So Swift with a 19.6 second gap for the race lead. We will continue to monitor this. And so there's a slight little battle going on between 6th and 7th, which is TGIS 78 and Doug Barrow. And Palmer now, just once again, like I said, having a quiet race. Not a whole lot for him, obviously, but he's doing a good job at maintaining a P3 finish, which would be his first time on the podium since Fuji with the Mercedes platform, and this would be his first podium with the BMW M6 GT3, of course, so he'll be looking to try and get something out of this, of course. Yuri still 19 seconds, so he's not bringing the gap down, nor is it going on up. He's doing the best that he can to try and get as close as he can to the Mercedes and Swift. And Swift coming close to the 30-minute mark. He is bound to come into the pits for a second time. But it's going to be all dictated by on how Swift could be able to mandate this pit stop and the next one. This battle for 6 and 7 still very, very close. So this is the only active battle that we have going on track at the moment. TGS moves to the inside. Doug Barrow could have to still find a way on the outside unless he could force one on the outside. Doug Barrow thinks about it, but TGS holds his ground and does a good job of holding on to P6. Oh, Doug Barrow on the inside with a great switchback move. Oh, I didn't even think that was going to happen, but what a great move that was by Doug Barrow to get back up into P6. That's a great move in the Honda NSX as well. Oh, there's more contact made. Doug Barrow holds his ground, does a good job. Oh, and TGS quickly on the back front and is easily going to force his way back on through. Doug Barrow with a flick of the lights. I assume that time trying to maintain some pressure. With a 4 times penalty, he will go on for another lap. I just want to make sure that I just wanted to check if he was going to come into the pits or not. TGIs assume the flash. I don't know what that was for, but this battle's still going on close. Oh, and Doug Barrow almost with a dive on the inside. And TGI has somehow held on to that one. And this is providing some insanely close racing, even for the people who are dead last and in second to last place of this race. They're trying to get as much points as they can for their championships, respectively. Now Doug Barrow up in 7th after missing Monza, of course. And he's trying to get back into this race somehow. And this is just insanely close racing between these guys. They had an incident, but their work is far from over with about 29 minutes left into this race. And this is just insane close racing for all of these guys. Oh, and Doug Barrow on the inside again. And unfortunately for TGS was not able to hold that one. But once again, another overtake for position. This is an insane battle going on between these guys. And what can TGIS do to force a move out of Doug Barrow? Once again, on to the inside of this corner right here. Can he force one? Doug Barrow will hold on to his ground. But this battle is still ferociously appetizing to enjoy and gander at. And is that an incident for James Head? Is that an incident for James Head? I assume it is. I think he might have had an incident of some sort, but I'm not too sure about that. Swift will actually come into the pits this time by on just a single liter of fuel. So he's just going to make it enough strategy. And this will be his second stop of the day of 3. That's right, second stop out of 3. So Swift here on the odd card strategy will pit 3 times this entire race, while the majority of the fuel behind will only pit for 2. Not much fuel in the car. Where will Ure come out be in contrast to Swift? Swift will still hold on to the lead of this race, but Ure is going to be right there and not far off. And it looks like the battle between Doug Barrow and TGIS 78 has decided to split off a little bit, and that's going to be a penalty, of course. James Head will come in this time by. I imagine he's going to try and fill up to the end now and undercut the field behind. So we'll have to monitor this battle, of course. And I don't think he didn't put a particularly full tank in. I'd say about 85 liters of fuel in the car now as I speak. But that's going to be a close strategy call. I feel like he might have to come into pits one more time, but that will have to be something we'll have to gander at and monitor for this race. So, Swift with an 8/10 penalty. Ure now 1.9 seconds behind, and Swift is on particularly newer rubber than the man behind, which is Ure. And so, with the norm of the field now, gonna pit with about 6 minutes to go. Oh, is that a very... Oh, I heard tires squeal. I couldn't tell if it was Ure or not. It might have been, but Ure can't really afford to make another mistake in this race if he wants a potential race win here as well. Keep in mind, Swift now captured his second win of the season at Monza, and Ure would like to match that if he can. So, keep in mind, Swift been on the podium three times this season, and 2 of those podium visits have been race wins this season. Ure has only been to the podium twice this season, and 1 of those podiums is a race win. And so Ure would like to match Swift on even ground if he can. So let's go down the field now and see where battles are. And this battle is still raging on between Doug Barrow and TGIS. These guys just cannot seem to get rid of each other. They just want to keep a hold going. TGIS showing the flicker of the lights. Dive down to the inside. Good move there for TGIS. Oh, and there's contact made between the 2 cars. And I think TGIS might have slid into that one and might have forced Doug Barrow to take a big stop and park it up for a second or 2. And so these guys still not giving each other any bit of legroom to work with. It's all about flexing your muscles. It's the big boy BMW versus the tiny little Honda NSX, and see who can come out on top and who can prevail. And is that a dive down to the inside? Oh, what a dive by the inside by Doug Barrow. And I think he knew that was a dive bomb that was definitely in the wrong, so he gave the position back immediately. Of course, Doug Barrow playing the sportsmanship card to the best that he can. But once again, these guys are just getting their cars battered and bruising. You can see the scars. Look at the damage right there on the front of the BMW. And as well as the Honda NSX. So you can tell these cars definitely taking a beating right there. On board now with the Honda, still trying to maintain into that slipstream, and he's just not wanting to let that Honda or that BMW NSX get away. He's doing a good job of it, of course, and just doing the best he can to try and maintain as close position as he can. So Doug Barrow still trying to keep it close to the man up in front, which is the BMW of TGIS, and he's doing a particularly good job of it as well, providing some insane close action as per usual within the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. Regardless of the class, either of it being Pro-Am or Pro, there's always a battle to be had, a race to be won, and of course it is always going to provide some incredible action here, of course, for the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. Ben L85 has had a particularly quiet race as well, and he's got himself back up to P4. I imagine he's going to come to the pits particularly soon, with the guys up in front being Uri and Palmer for their 2 stops strategy. And I imagine he will have a bit more fuel in the tank than anything, because he's doing a good job of it with the straight line speed advantage that the Toyota Supers have. And he's just set his fastest lap of the race, which is a 1:45.2, which is nearly a second slower than the fastest lap of Swift. So Palmer with 45s, 46s consistently, as the tires might be starting to give up. The Michelin slicks might be starting to cry for help, or are near at the end of their life cycle. Yuri coming close on strategy, as he will probably have to come into the pits sometime soon. And the Spaniard, I should keep in mind that this is his home track as well, so this is Yuri's home track. He is from Spain, and of course being located in the Spanish territory. So Yuri will certainly want to definitely try and get a home win if he can, obviously, and he would certainly like that, of course. The gap now 5 seconds between these two guys. Swift still with that 3/10 penalty, and he's just set another fastest lap of the race with a 44.2. So could we crack into the 43s potentially? And yes, I think we might, because he's just set a 44.1, and he's absolutely on fire with pace right now. Yuri's only setting 45 mid to highs, so this is allowing Swift to just get away on just pure strategy. But keep in mind that these guys will have one more stop to make, and it could go the way of Swift with that spin that Yuri had early in the race. And let's check into the battle with TGIS and Doug Barrow, and they're still just within a second of each other. They just do not want to let each other go, and they're trying to get as much points as they can, obviously, to try and leapfrog one another. And so a dive made by Doug Barrow, but TGS will get the position back. Yuri, oh my god, with a flash, Jesus. He will come into the pits for the one last time. Palmer will come in as well for his final pit stop of the day. And Yuri will have to be on an absolute tear if he wants to try and get a potential home race win here today, here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And we do have some other Patreons coming into the pits, which one of them will be TGIS 78. Doug Barrow will try and stay out and try and leapfrog the driver, the Dutch driver. Oh, and Jesus, oh my lord, the flash. Good lord, dude. Blindfolding my eyes out. Jesus. I apologize about that as well, by the way. Battle85 getting up into third place, so he's doing a good job of trying to get as much points as he can back up. Keep in mind, he's only fourth in points with his Toyota Supra, so he's on an absolute hot charge at the moment, and he could try and get third in points after this race and beat out Palmer. Because at the moment, Palmer and Battle85 are only separated by 3 points as well, so that's another battle left to keep in mind for this championship fight. Palmer in front with 58 in third place, and then Benel 85 only with about 50. I'm sorry, yeah, 55 for Benel 85. So points matter in this scenario. Benel 85 will have to come into the pits sometime soon, as well as Swift, who's got a marginally comfortable 24-second lead at the moment. And so the strategy really working out for Swift, and especially that mistake as well by Ure, which really paid dividends for Swift to make the strategy work. Doug Barrow will come to the pits for the last time today after his successful two-run stop, two-pit stop strategy. The fuel going in the nozzle. James Head will also come to the pits with a heaping margin of fuel, as he's making the three-stop strategy work. He's made the three-stop strategy work. I think he put a bit too much fuel in the tank. I'm not too sure about that. Oh, he's really overfilled the tank. My goodness me. So I'm not particularly sure what the plan for that is, but I don't think James Head was intending on trying to put as much fuel in the tank as he can, and these guys are still going at it with each other once again, and we'll have to continue monitoring this. But my, oh my, what a race it has been for a majority of these guys. Swift still staying out for one more lap. 144 dead, so wow, what a good lap for Swift that is in the lead Mercedes AMG GT3. And so Benel 85 will come into the pits this time by and make his final pit stop of the day, and this will allow Ure, the Spaniard, to hop up into second place. And so 28 seconds now between Swift and Ure, and I strongly feel like that Swift will still come out right ahead of Ure. Palmer will leapfrog Benel 85. Oh, I staked that. Benel 85 and Palmer are going to have a race of their own to the checkered flag. And look at the amount of fuel differences between Benel 85 and Palmer. That's at least a quarter of a tank difference between Benel 85 and SLM Palmer. And so this will be something to keep an eye out for as well. TGI's and Doug Barrow once again going at it, and they've certainly been going at it all race long, so a bit of argy-bargy here and there, but they are still just not letting each other go at this rate in the race. And so Swift, who's very, very edge on fuel right about now, will come into the pits. Yes, he will, for his third and final stop of the day. About 28 seconds now ahead of Ure. And so Swift now getting his last bit of fuel in the tank. And I do believe that he will still stay out ahead of Ure to cover off his race. Of course. And of course, Swift coming out as of now. And where is Ure? He's at the start-finish line now, so 9 seconds separate the gap, 10 seconds, and it's growing up substantially. Yeah, it's about 9.6-ish seconds. And Ure's got to make some work up if he wants to get a race win, if he's feeling lucky. Now let's go down back to the battles right here. We have this battle for TGIS, Doug Barrow, and James Head, who's fought himself back up into the championship fight, so he can try and score some serious points here if he's able to, of course. Doug Barrow once again still on the back foot of the BMWs. BMWs not moving at all, so Honda will have to move first. And a late move to the outside. Maybe he can Doug Barrow one, force one on the outside. And that's a great move on the outside to turn number 1. What a move by Doug Barrow in the Honda NSX. That's a move you don't see every day into turn number 1. And that right there just pretty much just gained a lot of confidence for Doug Barrow as he moves over to the right. And TGIS also on the outside as well. Can he force one there? TGIS is going to be forced a little bit wide. And Doug Barrow, super scrappy. Oh, what a dive to the inside by TGIS, and he takes a position. What a move that is right there by the Dutchman. And this is a great scrap here for points for 5th, 6th, and 7th. And James said all he can really do is just sit and watch this one out because there's nothing really he can do. What a move that was for Doug Barrow on the outside of turn number 1, and then a very aggressive move by TGIS into the braking zone. And these guys are just not giving each other an inch of room. Oh, and a kick of oversteer. And so this battle for Ben L85, and I imagine he's just pit. I think he pitted. Yeah, he pitted about 2 or 3 laps ago. So still trying to get up to SLM Palmer to try and get on the podium. And keep in mind, if Ben L85 would get ahead of Palmer, he could theoretically beat him out on points coming out of this race weekend. And keep in mind, this is the halfway race, halfway point of the season. So after this race, we will be on halfway points as a matter of fact. 11 seconds right there between Ure and Palmer and Swift. And is that a move right there? Oh, Doug Barrow trying looking around the outside again. TGIS is just not giving an inch of room. And Doug Barrow is just doing everything he can to try and get by that BMW. And it's simply not working out for him. So Doug Barrow, can he force one off the inside? Nothing doing there. He's going to force one on the outside particularly. But this race between these guys has just been an absolute scrap fest. And we are seeing a dogfight for the last 50 minutes, 50 minutes of this race. And so Doug Barrow, can he force one on the inside? TGIS still not giving an inch of room. Not even clearly an inch of room. He's given a bit of a track width, but Doug Barrow's going to be forced out a bit wide, and TGIS is going to go a bit wide, and he's going to compromise the position to Doug Barrow and to James Head as well, and he's forced an issue, and he's put a foot wrong, and so that might be day over for TGIS unless he can get back up with these guys up in front. But a valiant effort for TGIS, who tried to really score some serious points here after he's had a very, very tough season, of course. And unfortunately for him, it's got to be recuperation for him. And Doug Barrow has survived that one. I think this racing, it's going to be looked at, of course, after this race. No doubt about that. But holy moly, what a scrap that was for the ages. And we do have a little scrap starting to unfold here between the BMW of SLM Palmer and Ben L85. Between the BMW and the Toyotas. The second BMW of the day, of course. And so Palmer's still doing a good job of it, trying to hold on to 3rd position for the race and trying to keep his 3rd place in points still alive. And particularly good laps between these two guys. Last lap for Palmer, 45.2, but a 44.9 for Ben L85, so he's still trying to make up the ground that he's... And Ben L85, if he is able to, after that spin he had early in this race will be a great recovery for Ben L85, of course, in that Toyota Supra. Battle is getting much more closer and closer as the race draws to a close, and Ben L85 is really on the back foot of this BMW. Tire wise, the BMW has much worse tires than Palmer, so Palmer is going to absolutely defend for his life at the moment if he wants any chance at salvaging third in championship points. Ben L85 is still going to force one behind Doug Barrow. He's going to, SLM Palmer, I do apologize for that. And Ben L85, oh, and an interesting strategy, Swift is going to come into the pits with 6 minutes to go, so this is his four-stop strategy. I'm not sure what the strategy call this is. And he's just taking tires just to cover off Ure. And I think this is just try and cover off Ure on particularly worn tires. And I think Swift made that call a little while ago. I think he knew he was able to cover off Ure had he made a fourth pit stop. Definitely an unorthodox strategy, but if it works for Swift, I guess it works, but holy moly, what a bold call that was for that gentleman driver right there. Back to the battle now for third place between Palmer and Ben L85. The German versus the Brit. Not giving an inch of room is Palmer, as he's going to have to try and force Ben L85 a harsh line through for up in front. Palmer taking a lot of defensive lines. Ben L85 is going to have to try and follow suit. Ben L85 is in the more nimbler car of the two compared to the BMW M6 GT3. And so what can the man in the Toyota Supra do to try and get past the BMW M6? And so while we continue to monitor this battle, the gap now up at the front is starting to grow substantially between Swift and Ure. And Ure doing the best he can to try and minimize the damage to his second place in points compared to Swift, who is the championship leader in this race. Oh, and Ben L85 gonna try and force one on the outside of the chicane. Can he force one over there? Oh, he's still showing the door. And oh, and just side by side through the chicane, and nothing doing there as of yet. But he's doing a good job of it, of course. And Jameson is doing a good job to get up in the fifth place. And Doug Barrow still trying to force one. Oh, and he shows the nose a little bit, but nothing doing there. And there's too many battles to watch, and there's at least two battles going on at the course at the moment. But this one's the more important one for third in the race. And this will have championship implications as well, because whoever can finish ahead of each other will get the championship over one another. These two separated by 3 points. Palmer in third, Ben L85 in fourth. Ben L85 could get the chance to try and get up into third in points. And this is a very hectic race, of course. And Doug Barrow has somehow got up into fifth. What is going on between all three of these guys in fifth, sixth, and seventh? I'm trying to follow as much of these two battles as much as I can. And it's just insanely close racing here with 3.5 minutes to go. Two battles going on at the moment. And there's just a lot to unfold on the track at the moment. And so the gap now between these two guys. Palmer with a lot more fuel in the tank. And Doug Barrow doing a good job at solidifying the top five. Oh, James Head with a kick of oversteer. That's going to compromise his position. He's going to drop down to dead last. And Doug Barrow's done a good job to get away from those two guys, so they're going to have a busy time fighting each other. This is going to allow Doug Barrow to potentially get a fifth place today in the race, so I will obviously continue to monitor that on the minimap. But this battle for third place is still going on, and it's still very, very close because Palmer is desperately trying to keep his third place in the championship, while Bentley 5 is trying to overhaul that, and is just still completely not giving another inch of room on Bentley 5. Palmer had that door wide open, but Bentley 5 thinks better of it. On Palmer goes a bit wide. Bentley 5 is still very, very close. A kick of oversteer to boot as well for Bentley 5. And we're going to go on board with the man in the Toyota Supra, but this is just insanely close racing between these two guys. And so, these guys, like I said, not giving each other an inch of room. And look at the driving lines that the BMW has to take. That BMW's tires are certainly worn out, and when is a good time for that Toyota Supra to take his chance and seize the opportunity for third in the championship? That will be the big question here. And so this battle, I assume, might be done, because James Head has fallen way down the order, and these guys are very, very certainly stretched out, at least 1 second amongst each other. And Bentley 5 still very, very close. Palmer doing a good job at defending. Oh, was there a bit of contact right there? Palmer was forced a bit sideways, and I think Bentley 5 thought better of it to not force an issue. And so I think these guys will have one more lap to duke it out. So Bentley 5, oh, and that's a kick of oversteer for Bentley 5, which he didn't need. So that's grown the gap significantly, and that's put a lot of pressure off of Palmer. And so Palmer doing a good job on those worn tires. Doug Barrow and James said these guys for sure will get another lap. Definitely. And Swift with a 1/10 penalty, which he will easily serve over Uri. The gap now 6 seconds. And so Swift doing a good job. We'll go back to that in a second. These guys now only separated by 1/10 of a second. That gap's is going down significantly. Bentley 5 is going to have to charge now or never if he wants to try and overtake Palmer in the championship standings. Doug Barrow, TGS, James Head will get this lap to finish up. And so we will continue to monitor that battle as well, but we turn our eyes up to the front right here. And this man right here, he withstood a lot of pressure, of course, from the guys behind. Oh, the 1 second penalty! So, is he going to try and serve that real quickly? He's going to have to serve it real quick. And coming across the start-finish line for the final time, it will be Swift in the 95 taking his third win of the season at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and maintaining his championship lead. And Uri, minimizing the points loss, will come home for second. And this battle right here, I think Palmer will be able to hold on after withstanding a lot of pressure, and I mean a lot of pressure from the man behind in the BMW M6 GT3, the 24. But SLM Palmer to the finish line will hold on for third. Bentley 5 taking home a nice chunk of points for fourth. And that right there was a very juicy battle that went right to the end, of course. And Doug Barrow holding on and doing a good job. And I swear that was a very, very juicy battle. Whoa! What the heck was that? What was that from TGIS? That is going to be a hefty penalty for TGIS, as it looked like he tried hitting Doug Barrow. That is an act of disrespect right there, and that has got to be investigated as well. And that is completely disrespectful. But for the third time this season, Swift in the 95 will hold on to his championship lead, and he will take his third win of the season at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And I'm going to save that replay because I want to take a look at what happened at the end of that race. But for the third time this season, Swift and the 95 Mercedes will hold on for his third win of the season. And we will have our podium finishers join us for our post-race interviews. Sorry about that. I just kind of just flashed out for a second. Oh no, not Benelli 5. Swift and Ure. So we have our championship interviewees coming in soon. And so while we wait for our podium finishers to finish up, that's going to be another crucial points haul for the championship leader Swift, who gets one on Ure once again, taking his third win of the season. And it provided some very, very juicy action for for a majority of these battles, especially for a lot of these guys, obviously. And there was just a lot of good racing all around, regardless of the situation. But we do have our podium finishers coming into the commentary box, and we'll start off with the man in third place with SLM Palmer. And Palmer, you had to withstand a lot of pressure at the end from Ben85, who's desperate to try and get you in the championship standings. How are you feeling right now after that juicy battle towards the end of the race?
Well, I'm definitely very happy to get podium in the BMW. I finally got it nailed on fuel. So basically, the first stint, I was just saving fuel, short shifting, which I'm pretty sure all the field were doing. Yeah, I guess the third stint with Ben, it showed the pure pace of the BMW, which of course isn't very good. But yeah, I think it's definitely very good. It's probably like my first proper battle in ages, and yeah, I'm very happy to get this podium.
And what's crucial for you as well that you were able to maintain third place in the championship standings, because you and Ben85 were only separated by 3 points. And I think it just came to show you that Ben85 was doing everything he could to try and get past you. Obviously, I think what was the key decision for you to try and stay up in front ahead of Ben85 as long as you could to try and maintain your third place in the championship?
I think definitely the defence. If I didn't defend the way I did, then I think Ben would have definitely got past me. I did make a couple of mistakes down at the hairpin. But yeah, I managed to keep it tight through most of the corners, and it managed to keep me ahead. And of course, Ben made a mistake, and I got a sigh of relief on the final lap.
Very, very good effort for you, regardless of the situation. Your first podium in, I'd say, about 3 races since your last podium at Fuji, of course. And, of course, we will move on to the man in second place, SMM Ure. Ure, you looked very, very strong out there, taking pole position, but unfortunately your spin early in the race, it kind of basically set you back majorly. You looked like you had a very good chance to win, but you'll still take second place regardless of the situation. How do you feel right now after your race?
Thank you.
Oh, your wheel came off. Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that things happen like that. Unfortunately, worst case scenario. That's kind of like minuscule things that pretty much just you don't expect to happen, but it did happen to you, unfortunately. Besides the wheel kind of falling off of your desk as well, was there anything that you possibly could have done differently to try and overtake Swift today in the race and probably for a race win here today? Well, good day for you, regardless of the situation. Despite the spin, I do apologize for your wheel falling off as well, which is the worst case scenario that could have happened. But we move to the man on the top step of the podium, Swift, your third win of the season, and with very, very strong pace, obviously, and pretty much one of the most orthodox strategies that I think I've ever seen here at Barcelona, kind of leading a 4-stop strategy. And you still made it work, obviously. What? And you were initially going to be looking to make a 3-stop strategy, as where.
Yeah.
But regardless of the situation, how do you feel about the race win today?
I it was good. I only really did the fourth stop because I saw on the timer I could afford it. I knew I had the time to do it, and I wanted to try and get a 1:43, but I couldn't quite. I was like half a tenth off. Yeah, I did a free stop because I did a few calculations, and I figured I'd rather always be on new tires than on old tires around Catalonia because the AMG, like the one thing you hate around this circuit is understeer, and I didn't want any of it. So my brake bias was all the way to the back, and I wanted to protect the front tires as much as possible. So it was just yeah, that's why I did a free stop rather than a two stop because I wanted new tires pretty much the whole race. Otherwise, the AMG drops off really badly after lap 10, so I couldn't do a two stop. Yeah, it was fun following Yaro for the first stint, but he caught the sausage. Like when you catch the sausage with the rear left tire, it can happen randomly, and it'll just like you can take it like the same. You've been taking it lap after lap after lap, and one lap it'll just do something. It'll just knock the car. So it was a shame because it was a nice fight.
And one more question for you, Swift, before we close out the live stream as well. You do extend your championship points ahead of Ure, but not by much because he was still able to hold on for second place. I think it should be about, I want to say 26, 18. Should be about an 11-point gap now between you and Ure for the championship lead right now. Do you think you want to still try and to push as hard as you can, or do you think your main concern is trying to focus on Ure and making sure that he doesn't get ahead of you in the championship standings, of course?
I just try and race as cleanly as I can. There was a few times I could have, in the first stint when I thought Yeri had good pace, but I don't think I tried anything too outrageous in terms of overtakes. I was trying to keep it clean, so it'll be like he'll win races that's still to come, and I'll win races hopefully that are still to come. So there's a long way to go, and I just want to keep it clean.
Well, that is a good day for you in the office as well, Swift, regardless of the situation. Your podium finishers here, Polymer in third, Ure in second, and taking his third win of the season, Swift, once again, it provided some very, very close racing as well. I think it's pretty much as closest to good racing as it was at Suzuka. Very, 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 very exciting regardless of the situation, but of course, there are some questionable things amongst the further back of the pack as well, but we will take a look at that for later. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for all tuning in to the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. I'm your host and commentator for today's set of races for Pro-Am and Pro SM_RDZ. And we'll see you guys next week for the Mazda MX-5 Cup Championships, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks at Red Bull Ring for the GT3 Championship. And like I said, once again, I'm your host and commentator, SM_RDZ, and we'll see you guys next time.